afternoon, sir. It's an honor to sit in front of you and do this in person. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
My pleasure. You want to do in English or English Odia Visa? No, only English.
We'll do both.
Okay.
Sir, can you please tell me about your childhood, how it has been, and what motivated you to become a doctor?
I grew up like most of those days, the 20% people or 15% were living in cities, 80% were, 85% were in villages. Today, of course, it's little better. So obviously, I grew up in a very, very remote part of Odisha, in Jaspur district. That time it was Jaspur subdivision, and that also it is very remote part where there not even a proper road those days. We didn't have a proper road. We had those roads every rainy season will wash away, and no schools. So that's how I grew up in the village. And though there was a school, high school, which was I used to go for my primary school to around 2.5, 3 kilometers. The place called Amri, which is the next village to our village. So from primary school education I did that. After that, they had just started a high school there, but the school was not of good quality, so I decided to go to a place called Pritipur High School, which was among the best high school in that area in those days. That was around 7 kilometers from my village. So every day from 6th standard till 11th standard, I used to walk all the way to Pritipur High School, and those days we did not have. You want me to look at the camera or look at you?
No, it's okay, sir.
Okay. Usually everybody looks at the camera, otherwise. Yeah. So in those days I used to. You are putting a video format or you are writing it?
This will convert it into writing, and another short message for our college we will put it in video.
Yeah. Okay. So then I used to walk 7 kilometers any season. There was no road. Used to do that. So I did my high school there. After that I went to BJP. I got into both Revensa and BJP. I prefer BJP because my uncle was there in Bhubaneswar, so I thought. And that time BJP was considered the rising college, and it was considered better teaching than Revensa. So I opted for Revensa College. And I did that, and then obviously I applied for the SCV medical. No, in our time only the first time the entrance examination started for the medical colleges. So I got selected for I was I think 7th or 6th in the entrance, and in those days it was called pre-professional. So pre-professional and first year, that was used to be called. So there first year I stood on the I think 8th or 9th rank in the university. And in the entrance I was I think 6th or 7th or 8th, something like that, in the entrance exam. So I got into SC Medical College, and for a very young age, I think I always give that example about the first heart transplant in the world, which Christian Bernard did. It was a massive news. It was like the first landing of human landing on moon. It was that kind of news coverage. Every single newspaper, front page, whole page covering heart transplant. So heart transplant was considered the ultimate in medicine. So that is how I got, as a young child, enamored into heart care. That was in my 9th standard. So then after getting into Kotak Medical College, so my dream was to become cardiac surgeon, and those days there were only 4 or 5 places: All India Institute, PGI Chandigarh, then Vellore, KM Hospital. These are the only 4 places, and Madras Medical Hospital. 4 or 5 places people were doing cardiac surgery, and even those days the operating death rate was almost 40-50%, all over. So it was very, very beginning part of cardiac surgery in the world. All over the world it was like that. So there are a lot of skepticism. My family members, my relatives, some of them, one of them was also the dean of medical college. I approached him that I want to do cardiac surgery. He said, no, this is not a branch you need to do. You will not get a job. You will get into, you will end up doing working in a PSC or somewhere in Odisha. Don't do that. I said, no, this is my dream. I want to do. Even if I don't get a good job, At least I'll do whatever, but at least I'll take satisfaction that I did train in cardiac surgery. So that was the status those days. So first I got into SC Medical College. My first posting only I opted for cardiac surgery posting for a month, then general surgery, and went to the whole gamut. And the more I see, more I loved doing cardiac surgery. Then I gave the entrance to All India Institute, got into All India Institute, did my cardiac surgery program. And after doing cardiac surgery, of course, those days everybody wanted to go to USA and other places because India was just developing. It was not the surgeons were excellent, but a lack of experience, and it is not unfortunately cardiac surgery is not a single person's job, it is a teamwork. Even if you can be an excellent surgeon, excellent cardiologist, but if you don't have a team, you will not have the required result. So obviously those days we used to give those USMLE, visa qualifying, all those exams I had given it. So I got selected in few places, but then I opted for Cleveland Clinic because Cleveland Clinic was considered the best place for cardiac surgery. Not only it is a very, very strong academic center. So I got into Cleveland Clinic, went there, did my fellowship. During that time, I became extremely close to the head of the hospital group, Dr. Floyd Luke, who was one of the pioneering cardiac surgeons, and he was I'll consider all the advancements, refinements in coronary artery bypass surgery that as people are practicing even today after 40-45 years was by him. He was considered the doyen of coronary artery bypass surgery, who had defined all the techniques. So I became extremely close to him during my stay there. So after that, my training, I stayed back 3 more years as associate consultant. And that was one of my best experience in terms of learning that cardiac surgery is not individual person's job. You need to create you can't be a world-class surgeon or best surgeon without a world-class team or best team. And that is where I learned the idea of creating a team. So while practicing there, I had the options to stay back. Dr. Luke wanted to stay back and work one of the hospitals, Cleveland Clinic group of hospital, ultimately head one of their cardiac surgery program. But I told him one day that I want to go back to India and try to put up a hospital which is something like a mini Cleveland Clinic. That's how I came back to India. Go ahead. So that's my whole detailed life's journey to coming back to starting from a village and coming back
Very
to India.
interesting story, sir. Sir, can you please tell me about something about your MBBS life at SCB, how it has been?
It was fun. It was fun. Then I had decided that I don't want to be competing to be on the top, though I was in the top 5-6 in the batch, but I never wanted to first or second, because when you are doing that, all your energy goes to, I don't enjoy everything else. Because I was very clear in my life that I want to become a heart surgeon, and when I get into my required specialty, I'll put on heart and soul to it. There's no point in reading 24 hours and competing to become the topper in the batch. So I decided not to get into that. Though I was sincere in my study, but I was in I taught in pathology and few other specialties, but I didn't want to get into that rat race and do that. So it was fun. It was fun, good, and I used to love breeze those days. So sometimes on the weekend, we'll have a breeze session lasting for 12, 14, 16 hours. All night we'll be playing breeze. I used to do that, but same time I was very particular about my study that few things I'll advise is the moment you finish your class, come back and recount the whole day's study. That's the best way to remember, because whatever you do, whether verbal or visual teaching, you'll be only capturing 20-30%. You'll not be remembering anything, no matter how intelligent you are. The best way is reinforce it immediately. So that was my standard thing. The moment class over, people will go and start playing this thing, that thing. I'll not do that. I'll come back after any class gets over. If I got a break, that half an hour, I'll just recapitulate what has been taught. That particular class. I'll go through that. I go through quickly, if suppose in the clinical areas, clinical time they have to teach a disease process, typhoid, etc. Malaria, I'll immediately go through the book, read it. That's it. Once you do that, you'll remember for a very, very long time. You'll not forget. You don't need to study all night before exam to do that. That was something I always religiously did. I just quickly recapitulated the day's teaching, and then after that evening I can go ahead and enjoy life. Of course, I have good memory. We had a lot of good friends. We are still friends. We are going to celebrate this December 3rd, our 50th year of entering the med school. Yeah.
Sir, any other co-curricular activities you were interested in back then?
I was playing this one. Breeze is one I was playing. Other one I was into Carom. Yeah. Then other thing I used to do a medium distance running, but I never took part in it. I had to do a video for 5,000 meters running. I used to do that. I was quite physically conscious even those days.
Yeah, that's a nice practice, sir. Sir, how does a normal day in your life span out these days? Your daily routine, sir?
My daily routine starts somewhere around, I'll put it around 7 o'clock. Because by and large, whatever I do, I try to do it at 6. It's difficult to do. Of course, 7 o'clock here in Mumbai is where the sunrise takes place. 7:30 is the average sunrise time. Odisha it is 5 o'clock. Yeah. If it Odisha, I would have done it 5 o'clock. So usually it starts at 7. So 1 hour I do my exercise and yoga. That is just a must. There's one time I turn off my mobile, turn off everything. I don't take any phone calls. So usually by say 8:15 I finish that. Also I could take a quick shower. So I'm ready in the hospital. Half the time I don't have time to go home because my day ends so late. I don't want to spend going and coming 1 hour on the road, so rather I'd get the 1 hour built into my sleep. So by 8:15, 8:30 max, I'm in the hospital, and usually first 1-2 hours I go through my mails. I go because in addition to do cardiac surgery, I also run the hospital, and plus I go through a lot of mails from patients, other related hospital work. I do 1-2 hours. So by 9:30, 10, I go to the operation theatre. The first surgery I complete by 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock or something. Then 12 to 1 or 2, I take a break, come out again with the administration. Usually I have a quick standing meeting with the hospital manager, staff, etc. Or occasionally the critical patients are there, OPD, outpatient consulting or meetings like this I schedule between 12 to 2. And again sometimes it extends to 3 hours, sometimes 1 hour depending on the OT schedule. Like today I have a light day, we have only 3 cases, so I'm relatively free. So then I get back in the operation theatre around anywhere between 1 to 3 o'clock I go in, and as afternoon session of course we have got more surgery, so we finish, usually I finish by 7 o'clock, 6:37, and 7 o'clock once I come back again half an hour I quickly take a recap of any pending work and paper signing etc. I do, and then I do the outpatient consulting. That continues for at least 2 to 3 hours. By the time I finish my outpatient consulting, it is around 10. Of course, nowadays post-COVID I have cut down, I do more online consulting, so I do less physical consulting. So 10, 10:30 I finish, then I go for my ward round, ICU patients, other patients I do. 11 o'clock again I sit down, and somewhere during that time, my food is very, very frugal. So like my lunch will be some soup, salad and little vegetables and fruits like that. Dinner will be again little soup, salad and fruits, that's all. I don't eat anything beyond that. So somewhere in between I catch up my food around 8, 9 o'clock. I used to eat late night, but I realized that's not good for the health, so nowadays I eat by 8 o'clock. Very light food and that's it. So 11 o'clock normally I try to catch up with all the day's mails etc. A lot of pending works. Sometimes I catch up on my reading. So by the time it is finished at 12, 12:30, then every day I have to talk to my children, so I talk to them in the night. So they all stay in USA, so it's a perfect time for me and them. So somewhere between 10 to 1 o'clock while I'm taking round or something, I built in that half an hour talking to my children almost every night. By the time,
practicing medicine there?
no, both. My son did his MBA from Harvard. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's an extremely bright, techie guy. So he again is starting his own startup. My daughter is extremely bright. She did again her MBA in finance and healthcare from Wharton, which is among the best in the world in the finance and healthcare. So they are both into their own life. So normally in the night I do that. By the time I go to sleep, usually it is 1 o'clock. So though it's not healthy, I'm trying to cut down to 11 o'clock, still I have not been able to do. So I 1 o'clock and get up at 7. So 6 hours, which is not good. So I advise everybody 7 hours sleep. Hopefully I'll start doing 7 hours of sleep.
Yes, sir. Sir, what challenges did you face while establishing a center of excellence like this as an art institute?
See, challenges are multifold. Number one is, of course, financial challenges. When you're a doctor, you have no money, trying to raise funds is a very, very Herculean task. Nobody believes, and more so, when I started in 2000, healthcare was not considered a domain to invest by any finance investor because it was considered money-losing industry. So that was very tough raising funds. One is healthcare itself was not a preferred investment domain for anybody. Number two was also nobody trusted a doctor to do it because they say doctors only patient care, how do you know? Because one of the bankers told me, Dr. Panda, you don't know sand from cement, how are you going to put up a hospital? When I told him I'll do it in 1.5 years. So to do that, that is one challenge. Second challenge was obviously completing the project in time, because by and large in those days, even now also, if you don't plan out properly, you can really, your project can get delayed. If a project gets delayed, then your cost goes overrun. Then if cost goes overrun, then you are in serious trouble. So managing the project, second part. Third part was creating a team, and as I told in the beginning, before this I had a podcast, I was talking to the importance of team and team building. So I was fortunate enough, from the time I came back to India in 1993, I started looking for the best people. So everywhere, so by the time I started SNR, my key people, my surgeons, anesthetists, intensivists, cardiologists, my finance person, they have been with me for 8-10 years. They have been still with me. So they have been with me for 27, 28 years. And few of them are going to come do 30 years next year. So I have been able to, that is very, very important. So these are the challenges. And to do that, what I did is, it took me, of course, 7 years. I came back in 93, 2000, I got the land. So 7 years I have been consistently working, and a lot of people used to approach me to help them in putting up hospitals. So I used to do 3, just to learn what are the challenges. Some of my friends, there is one hospital in Surat. One of my friends, they had put up a charity hospital. So I said, okay, I'll get involved. I purposely got involved to learn what are the mistakes people do, why the hospitals take time. So those experience helped me in designing, planning my hospital. So I proved wrong to that bankers. He didn't give money. Finally, I operated one of the chairman of Bank of India, who was considered inoperable. He had gone all over the world. Everybody said inoperable, you are going to die. Operated, he lived 17 years after that. So after surgery, he asked me that, what can I do? I said, I have got this dream, and everybody think that I don't have capability to build a hospital as a head doctor. So he said, don't worry, I'll organize. So he, and then his name was Mr. Krishnamurthy, he was the Bank of India chairman. And his friend was Mr. Liladhar, who was he was Union Bank of India. So Mr. Liladhar and Mr. Krishnamurthy, they both made a conglomerate and gave the money for me to build the hospital. So that was the first challenge. Second challenge, my experience in getting involved in project taught me that you have to do everything in time. You don't do it, the moment you take bank loan, your interest rate starts, and interest rate those days was prohibitive, 14%. Today it is now to 9%, but those days it was 14%. It was prohibitive. So I planned out, even before taking, what it is I first, whatever investors' money which doesn't carry any interest. So I said, by and large, most of people do the other way around, because they want to keep safe, and they first take the bank loan and then put investors' money. Then the bank loan interest starts from day one. So, and most of the maximum expense in a project is the last 6 months when you are doing interior equipment, because they consume almost 80% of project cost. 20% is civil structure. Civil structure takes long time. So what I did, the civil structure that we built the hospital, those days was 100 crore. Everybody thought it will cost 200 crore, we could got it down to 100 crore. So first 30 crore I put up only our money. We never took a loan. In last 6 months I took loan. So that 1 year I saved all the interest on that money. That saved us a lot. 14% in 30 crore becomes 4.2 crore. So it's a massive amount of money. So that kind of thing saved us. So, and I had planned out, and what I did is I told my architect, etc., that whatever you want to do, other things I had experience in learning these projects, that people don't have a plan. They just do that, they suddenly some other doctor, they'll get invoice, say, no, I don't want this room that way, I want to break that way, I want to do this way. They again break, restart. I said, no, whatever you want to do, I got all the doctors who were going to be primarily in the team got involved in the design phase. I said, whatever you people want, the way you want, you tell the architects team. I told architects team, you want to break a wall 10 times, break it in the paper. Don't break it on the side. I'll not, side you break, you pay for it. I'll not pay for it. So that way we never broke anything. Our projects, I was monitoring. We had a timetable with the daily, weekly, monthly plan, and we have put it 18, you can imagine, 18 months we are divided into 500 some days. So every day it was getting one less day, one less day. So that target we have put it. And you surprised we completed record 18 months. We completed 18 months. I went back to that banker. I said, Mr. I still remember his. I said, Mr. Dandekar, don't never tell any doctor in future that you don't know sand from cement. And he said 5-year project. I said, Mr. Dandekar, I'll do it in 18 months. I completed 18 months. Though I didn't take money from him. But I had invited him. I said, Mr. Dandekar, don't say another doctor, if he comes to me with sincerity, don't tell him that you don't know sand from cement. And so that's how the project. So the challenges, as I said, one is the finance, second thing is completing, third, more important is building the human manpower. That is a great challenge, as I said. All my key members have been there from beginning, day one. Of course, some of them have joined later on, like Dr. Dora, who is from Odisha, head of cardiology, incidental for Berhampur. I think he passed out from Berhampur Medical College. He's our head of cardiology. He joined around 17 years back. He's with us. He's one of the best cardiologists in the country. So all of them, Dr. Rath, who is, Dr. Rath again did from Berhampur. He's a head of cardiac surgery. He's with me for 28 years now. So all my team, that's important, is to build a team and keep them. The only way you can do that, get the right talent and give them a space. Give them a direction, give them a space, and within that space, don't interfere with them.
That's a really inspirational story, sir. Sir, what advices do you have for people who are aspiring to build such an institute like yours?
All your medical students?
Yeah.
My first advice is, some of you probably don't want to do medicine because you have been forced by your parents. Just like I never forced my children, I would have forced them to become doctors. They would have been managing my hospital, one would have become a cardiac surgeon, one would have been a cardiologist, but they would have been miserable all their life. I told them, what you love to do, do it. So some of you probably are forced by your parents to do the medicine. If you don't like, your heart is not there, complete the medicine. Don't drop out because getting into another specialty, another area of your choice will be tough. So complete your medicine, because medicine also will teach you a lot of things. It will teach you empathy, a lot of human emotions, characters that will built in, will learn in medicine. Learn those things. Learn how to interact with people, how to have empathy towards people, how to have a team building. Learn those things and then go back and do whatever you want to do. A lot of I see doctors today are civil servant, you want to do civil service, you want to become entrepreneur, you want to become industrialist, do that. So my first advice to those whose heart is not in medicine, do medicine, complete it, but after medicine don't get forced by your parents to do something that you don't like. Do what you really love to do and get into your dream area, number one. Number two, my advice will be, while doing MBBS or post-graduation, put your heart and soul into learning. Learning more so on the clinical part. Nowadays I see a lot of people just read because they want to do the post-graduation, etc., etc. They come out at the end of post-graduation, don't know A from B about. So you have got both you need to do. Of course, you need to study very hard theory so that you score high and you get into your subject of choice, but at the same time, don't compromise on your clinical learning. spend as much time. I don't know whether they are nowadays they are doing lot of the bedside teaching or it is not there nowadays.
Still
Yeah.
very
Do that, and one quick learning experience tip I'll give you, which I used to do that immediately after any teaching. If I get in time, otherwise in the evening, half an hour, 1 hour, just recapitulate the whole day's whatever they have taught. It will stay with you a lot better than you spending 10 times more time after 6 months on that subject. That is something I always used to do. And there is always something called 80-20 rule. 20% of everything is 80%. So you imagine everything you do, identify the most important things. Remember those things. Always try to remember the most important things. Less important things are there. Other thing is, medicine also, unlike this mathematics is systematic, medicine also, as you go into more detail, understanding the reason. Even now my classmates say, you are the only, in the class I used to ask anything they'll ask, I'll ask them why. And the teachers will get upset with me that I'm trying to test their knowledge. It was not, I just want to know what is the reason why something is happening. And if malaria has a periodicity of fever, why it is happening? And if it is today has changed, why it has changed at cellular or microcellular level, what has happened? So try to understand the root cause, and that we do, then the knowledge stays with longer. If you are just to write it out just for the exam, to give exam, it will never going to stay with you. So these are the very basic tips I give you. Same time, study hard and spend as much time on clinical side. Same time, I'll advise you not to become bookworm. I was never a bookworm. Always I say that, have some space to smell the roses. You know what is smell the roses? Yes, always have some time to smell the roses. So don't 7 days a week, 365 days a year, don't just immerse in medicine. There's so many other things in life, but prioritize what is important. At what stage in your life, what is more important. Do that and keep some time for relaxation. Every day and the weekend, do that. So do that. Your MBBS, just because you don't stand first or second or third in the batch, there's nothing to do with it. I never stood first, second, third because I didn't want to. I wanted to be in the fourth or fifth rank so that I don't have to compete with anybody. I was very comfortable in that position. Because more importantly, you need to score first in life, not first in the class. As long as you score first in life, that is more important. And as you go into your specialized area that you are really loving. The third one, as I advise you to, those who are not doing medicine, not interested, after MBBS, do something that you love. During study, I give you the tips what to do. Focus on your study, focus on clinical, learn as much of clinical experience, because at the end of the day, you are becoming a doctor, you are becoming a clinician. That point of time, no one to read book reading is not going to work out. Though now the AI intuitive learning has started coming, end of the day, nothing can replace human being for next 50, 100 years. So at least, your clinical learning will make you a really good doctor. So I spent a lot of time on a clinical learning. That really helped me at becoming a good clinician. And third thing is, keep some time for yourself. And during the teaching tips I gave you, immediately recapitulate the day's study so that it stays with longer time. Spend some time, and always try to keep the most important thing. And always look a logical way of learning. Don't try to just write it out. And logical way of learning will stay with a longer time. You would just write it out, nothing will stay. After a few days, you will forget that. And the next is choosing a specialty. After the MBBS, do something that you are going to love to. Don't do something for the glamour. Many people get into whatever. It changes. In my time, it was cardiac surgery, cardiology was the ultimate glamour. Today, there are so many other specialties are glamour. Don't get into glamour of it, because there is no glamour in anything. And if you want to be in the top 2%, because again, the same rules applies everything, 80-20 rules. Any specialist, only top 5%, 10 or 20%, they can see 90% of the patients. Rest 80% doctors see only 10% of patients. For example, I do 1,500, 2,000 surgeries, and 3 of the top or 4 of the top surgeons in Mumbai will do 80% of the surgery. Yeah. And there are another 300 surgeons, they do 20%. So I do more than 1,500 surgery. There are 80% of surgeons don't do more than 20 surgery a year. So that rule applies every field of. So you need to be in that top 2% or 20%.
So other than your surgical competence, what other skills or soft skills do you think helps you be in that top 2%, and what can we do to emulate the same?
First thing I said, clinical.
Yes.
Most of people today, especially new generation, see, because teaching has, the college teaching has gone down the drain, so the not much teaching is there. Everybody only interested how to get into post-graduation. They just read the theory. They don't spend any time on the clinical. Then during MD, or they again want to get in DM, only theory. Very little. I see all these doctors. Very little. I've seen, forget about, I'll give you some example of a cardiologist. One day he calls me up, and I had done a standby with him on a Saturday. Did angioplasty to the right coronary. He calls me up, co-patient is infarcting, please come in, it's urgent surgery. So I said, first thing, right coronary doesn't need urgent surgery. So I said, okay, I'll come. I go there. I find the patient is absolutely comfortable. I see the patient's heart rate is only 70, 65 or something. Patient is absolutely comfortable. Oxygen saturation normal. The blood pressure is normal. So I asked him ECG. So I asked him, he's fine. Why do you think he's... Then I asked for while coming, I said, get a 12-lead ECG. So they had done a 12-lead ECG. 12-lead ECG were normal. So I said, why do... No, look at how the ST segment elevated in the monitor. He forgot, he has not seen even in the first year of our residency. We go through that. What you see on the monitor is quite a bit artifact. Depending on where you have placed the lead, etc., you can get a artifact as a ST segment elevation. And he has not done that. He has already become a cardiologist. So this is something I'll teach you people here, because when I came to know, I gave that example, people saw that fellow had never gone even once to the ICU to see patients. So what you want to be among the top is, number one, you need to have knowledge. Number two, you should learn in a logical way. Number three, spend as much time as possible on the clinical side, in addition to your theory, etc. Spend more time, especially intensive care unit. That is where, this morning only I interviewed one young boy, he's pretty bright. He's waiting to go to, he wants to go to UK to do his internal medicine and cardiology. I said, then 1 year you want to work in the ICU, because that's where you learn more. Because patients are critically ill, though your learning process gets hastened. To see what are the signs, symptoms, etc. leads to a deterioration, you can pick up much faster. So hone those skills. More equally important that you need to have a common sense. Unfortunately, common sense is the most uncommon sense. So first thing, the differential diagnosis, you need to look at what the common thing. Don't look at the uncommon thing. We had some classmates, very bright, but first thing in the differential diagnosis, they'll think about uncommon thing. Don't think about uncommon thing. So use a common sense. It's very, very important to have a strong sense of common sense. Another very important thing to get a good practice, the patient confidence on the other side, to have empathy towards the patient. You need to have a very strong empathy towards the... Empathy is very different from sympathy. You need to learn what is empathy, what is sympathy. Sympathy is superficial. It doesn't give confidence to the patient. Empathy is when you feel for the patient. Sympathy is when you tell the patient you are feeling, you cannot feel about it. So you need to have a strong empathy towards the patient. You do that, you will succeed. Again, whatever, coming back to the third point, advice to the post-graduation, I have not forgotten first point I told you about the those who are not interested. And second point is how you want to do your study. Third important thing is choose your specialty well. Try to be in the top 5%, 10%, not even 20%. You need to be the top 5%. And top 5%, 10%, there is no glamour. I gave you my life. This is a way watered down life. There is a time I used to sleep 4 hours. Almost 20 years I have worked with only 4 hours sleep. I used to sleep 2 o'clock, get up 6 o'clock, start working. So I will not advise people to do that kind of life, but the point I was trying to do, at the top, your life will be like that. All the topmost doctors in the country, in the world that I know, lead a life like that. It is morning till late night you work. That's the only way you will be in the top. That's the only way you will get patient. And in medicine, especially in the critical area of medicine, that you put 90%, you won't get a 90% result. You put 90%, you get 0% result. You put 100%, hopefully you will get 95% result. You put 99% effort, you will put 80% result. You put 95% effort, you will get 20% result. That is very important in cardiac surgery. So, and not only cardiac surgery, but if you want to be in the top 1% or 2% in any specialty, any field of medicine. I know everybody in those, nobody just roams around and be in the top. Nobody. Every single one I know of work 14 to 16 hours a day all their life. That is the secret to if you want to become on the top. Then some people decide not to be on the top, that's fine. You want to choose to be on the top, you have to put that effort. So those three things I told you. Same time also, never lose your, I always believe that to lead a balanced life, not to have a completely unidirectional life. Even the worst case, when I was extremely busy, I was putting out the hospital for 2000 to 2002, I was sleeping 2 hours a day, 2 to 3 maximum. I'll sleep till 3 o'clock, I'll be at the site, I'll start my day at 6. 6 o'clock I'll be at the site, by 8, 9 o'clock I'll go to hospital, operate, come back 6 o'clock in the evening, and from 6 o'clock in the evening I'll be here at the site for the construction, I'll go home 2 o'clock, sleep 2:33, get up at 6, 2 years, I spend 3 hours a day. The point I was trying to certain periods, and very, very important things I'll teach you youngsters, always I told my children also same thing, your intelligence, your hard work, all commitment, etc. only can take you, provided you take right decisions at the right moments in life. It's very, very important for you to know that. It's very difficult to predict when is the right moment for anybody. I'll give you an example. When I put up this hospital in 2000, here nobody was coming because this entire Berhampur complex that you see, it was a run-down swamp. There's nothing. There are zillions of mosquitoes all around. You see only hyacinth plant. There's not a road even. There's a 15-feet road. By daytime it was deserted. Evening though nobody will dare to come to this place. Nobody thought the hospital can be put up here. So the point I was trying to tell you is certain crucial. But I knew this place is going to go up in next 20 years. I didn't wait in only 2 years. I purchased the land at a throwaway price. Within 2 years, that price went 50 times. Today it is 200 times. The land cost that I purchased is 200 times more. So that moment, if I missed out that few months, I would have never been able to put a hospital here in my life. So everybody's life certain crucial moments comes. For me, another crucial moment was taking a decision to go to Cleveland Clinic, not to. I got choice in 2 of the best places those days to do cardiac surgery training after All India Institute. But I decided to go to Cleveland Clinic. That is a crucial moment. Crucial moment for me was after MBBS, I was even the topper, first 4, 5 or 6 in the batch. So I could have got into anything medicine, any specialty do. When my uncle advised, said, no, I'll do cardiac surgery. I don't want to do anything. So crucial moments is very, very important to take a decisions. So all of you are there. You have to decide what is the most critical moment in your life. Those who are planning to do post-graduation, that is the critical moment. And second important thing is during the critical moment, forget everything else in the world. Put 200%. Eat, sleep, drink, forget about your smelling the roses, do all those things. That time put 200% to achieve that. I'll give you an example of when I put up the hospital, 2 years, 22 hours a day I was working. Without that, I have not put up this hospital. Without that, if I have not done that, I have not have completed in 18 months. My cost overrun would have been there. My hospital I broke even in 5 years. So I have not have been doing that. Even now also I would have been paying band rate after 20 years. All my life I would have been. So 2 years I worked very, very hard. Rest of life I didn't have to do. So these are very, very important things. I'll teach you, I'll tell you guys the tips to succeed in life. You have to take a right decision at the most crucial moments in life. You miss that out, you miss out your life. You go to a lower trajectory, you don't go into the same trajectory, higher trajectory in life.
So in moments like this, do you listen to your head or your heart, or do you take suggestions
No, no,
from
no.
somebody you admire?
One another very important thing I forgot to tell you, I was a voracious reader. All my life, college days, you told me SC Medical College, I was a voracious reader. Not medicine, outside of medicine.
Anything. You are very curious.
I was a voracious reader. I'll be reading, if I'm not paying these, I'll be reading the whole weekend some book, not medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Medicine was for 6 days, Sunday was my other reading days. I read entire Western literature classics, all Indian classic. I must have read Mahabharata at least 15 times, the original Mahabharata, not the truncated Mahabharata. Ramayana at least 7-8 times. So you name it Indian literature, all the top writers I've read. Premnath I've read, all the Bengali writers, Sarat Chandra and all those writings I've read. I was a voracious reader. The important thing in reading is it gives a very broad framework of mind. Number two, this is very important, you must mention, I'll ask everybody to do extensive reading outside of medicine. Doesn't matter what you read. Read about people's autobiography. It gives you insight into some of the most intelligent, most genius people in there. So it gives you a lot of insight so that decision making becomes easy for you. So that at the right moment nobody can tell you. It's only you can decide. I didn't have anybody to tell me what is my right moment in life. Because I was a voracious reader, I was able to predict my right moment more accurately than others. Extensive reading, I'll advise everybody. Stop watching this internet, etc., etc. Today it is, knowledge is available at a fingertip. Do that. Spend less time on Facebook and Instagram. I do that. I also spend some time on Facebook, on Instagram, not Facebook. That's for a different purpose, wildlife.
Yes.
But acquire knowledge. That is going to give you a very broader outlook about your life and make you succeed faster. And that is going to work in your clinical practice also, because that is how you are going to get a better common sense. You had a good common sense, you will be able to make a better decision clinically.
Sir, you are being referred as the world surgeon with the safest hands. So what responsibility does it come with and how do you deal with it?
Exactly same question I gave it in the podcast. The thing is, this different way I'll put it. The only way you can get that kind of results is if you approach or treat every patient that as if you are doing it for first time in your life. That is something I learned one of my mentor surgeon. In those days he was considered the safest heart surgeon in the world. Luckily I was with him. So this is something I learned from him. Every single surgery he will do, he used to do the most complex surgery. He is retired now, of course, semi-retired. He's 80 plus now. Every single complex surgery he will do. I asked him, what is the secret? He said, every case I do, I think I'm doing for the first time in my life. Anything you do for the first time in life, you are very careful. Anything you do, you have done 500 times, you become careless. Yes. That's the responsibility. I'm just putting the other way around. This is the responsibility I have. The responsibility is that every patient I operate, I think I'm doing first time in my life. Even now also I go to any surgery I do, I think I'm doing first time in my life. Then all your alert systems are alert. You are not casual. The moment you think you have done 1,000 times, it's a simple surgery, your all alerts will go, you will make errors. The second thing I learned during training time, there's a very famous surgeon, those days he had a book called Albert Pacifico. They used to take residence training session during American Association of Thoracic Surgery annual meeting. One line he said, which I always tell all of you, a good surgeon is not the one who knows how to get out of trouble. You should quote that. A good surgeon is not the one who knows how to get out of trouble. A good surgeon is the one who knows how not to get into trouble. He said, to get out of trouble, you have to learn thousands ways how to get out of trouble. Not to get into trouble, only one way. Don't get into trouble. All my life, there's a mantra. Anywhere I gave a class, I take a session, boarding session, I said, this is something we learn. And cardiac surgery, if you look at it, is the highest complex surgery, but if you look at it, there's around 1000 steps. Compared to other surgery, you don't have so many critical steps. Cardiac surgery, every step is critical. You take 1 millimeter wrong stitch on the coronary artery, you are going to produce a myocardial infarction, and patient might die on the table. You take 1 millimeter wrong stitch, any other, it will not going to make that difference to patient's life. So you have to have the discipline to do day in, day out the same thing without losing interest. If you are doing first time in life, you will be taking all the interest to do those. If each coronary anastomosis you have to put 12 or 15 stitches, you take all because you are doing first time in life, you have to be very careful. So that's what I do. So coming back to what responsibility I have, my responsibility I have is, I want to make sure that I don't sleep. I don't sleep in SLIP. I don't sleep in my casual attitude. I don't do that, so that the person is alive, goes home fed. That's the responsibility I have.
Sir, the most remarkable surgery of your career is perhaps of Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, the then Prime Minister. Sir,
Yes, it was one of them, but I have done much more complex surgery than that. But yes, most remarkable definitely, and one of the most complex, yes.
Sir, what was going through your mind during that time, and how was your experience? Entire country was watching.
No, one was going through my means, this is the one thing I did is, I always, if I'm doing complex thing and like that, I shut myself off from newspaper. For the day we decided, for next 4 days, we decided on Tuesday, for Tuesday onwards I stopped watching news and I completely stopped till the day of surgery. But the day before it was all over the news, TV, everything was continuously going on. I didn't read newspaper because that unnecessarily puts pressure on you. So I did that. And the second thing I do that, I told my entire team, this was luckily for me, during my training in Cleveland training, those days it was the ultimate, even now also one of the ultimate places for cardiac surgery. We used to do all super babies, just like that. President, Prime Minister, kings who must have operated during my stay at least 15 or 20 such super baby IPs. And some of the richest people on earth who have done that. So one thing I learned there is, and obviously my mentor used to be the one who is operating, I used to look after them. You treat them just like another patient. The moment you think that the patient is a super VIP, then your decision making will get wrong. So I told my team, don't think that is the Prime Minister, think that is another patient, complex patient. All of us have to do the way we are supposed to do. Of course there was stress, obviously when you are operating with stress, but again I believe in yoga, so I do yoga. So before obviously surgery I did yoga for 30 minutes to cool the mind, and then I listen to music. Always in the operation theatre, my surgery doesn't do without music. I've got music continuously playing in the operation theatre. Those things kind of do, but again your focus is there. And same thing I told my team, that it's another patient. Just think of another patient, we have done so many, just focus that we have to do properly. So that's, but experience was amazing, but he was a great human being. Great human being, I was just telling today's meeting that he was an ideal patient. Ideal patient is the one who asks you all kinds of questions, asks you everything that you, about the disease process, treatment, etc., etc. Then takes the decision. Once takes the decision, has full faith in the doctor. So that's what he had. He asked all the questions about both forms of treatment, angioplasty versus surgery, second bypass surgery. We give all the information he wanted to know. Then he took the decision to go for surgery. And once he decided, he never asked one question about nothing. What surgery you did, how many grafts you did, or what will you do, nothing. He said, doctor, once I have faith in you, what you do, you tell me what to do, I'll do it. So you'll never ask one question, we'll tell him what to do, he will do that. So of course you used to explain to him what you want.
What was the duration of the surgery?
It was second bypass, and I had to go to another hospital, the all in institute to do. I took my entire team. So actually the main bypass surgery, it was around 2.5 hours or something, but second bypass, when you do first bypass, you can enter the heart within, in emergency I have operated within 5 minutes, we have gone on to the heart. But in second bypass, it takes at least 2 to 3 hours minimum, because everything, there is a tremendous adhesions inside, everything is stuck. The The heart is stuck to the sternum, the grafts are stuck to the sternum, so you have to be extremely careful in dissecting them out. Then the heart is stuck to the lungs, pericardium is stuck to the heart, you have to dissect out. Those things takes a very long time. So that I think took a long time, around 3-4 hours if I remember. Overall, from the time induction to taking out, it was around 11 hours, but if you take out the anesthesia, induction, etc., around 8 hours.
Sir, Asian Heart Institute is one of the first hospitals to introduce the Da Vinci surgical system.
Yeah.
How has robotic surgery helped doctors since then?
See, robotic surgery again, it is the way of the future. The only problem was it was a monopoly item by Da Vinci, so there most of the patents are expiring. So now a lot of new systems will be built in, because ultimately any forms of treatment is to how to give the minimum injury, minimum trauma to the patient with maximal recovery. That should be the aim of any form of treatment. So the way we used to do surgery, cut up somebody 8-inch cut or 10-inch cut, abdomen or chest, and those days are gone. You have to have technology, technique evolving also, everything going towards minimally invasive. That is where the robotic surgery plays a very, very important role, because remove the tremor on the hand of the surgeon, so surgeons can operate to a very, very long advanced age of life. But also it is, because it's magnified, it gives a much more accuracy in terms of doing procedures. One of the areas is that intuitive feeling, the tissue feeling that you do, which you don't get with a mechanical system. That's also there being built in, where you get when you are going to heart tissue, you can get that feeling, soft area you can get feeling. Those things are coming in. This is the way of the future. Cardiac surgery is still not developed, because cardiac surgery robotic is very, very difficult, because all of the type of surgery that robotic is involved is excisional surgery. Cardiac surgery is a reconstructive surgery. You don't excise the heart and take it out. That's why it is a long process. Once the new technology comes, I feel next 10-20 years, robotic surgery will have quite a bit application in cardiac surgery, especially in areas of valve surgery. Areas of aneurysm, in areas of pediatric or congenital heart disease correction, those areas are a lot of role. Coronary will have a limited role, because coronary, the arteries are very small and the space is very limited. Whereas when you are doing valve, you are already entering the heart, so and you get a direct view of the valve. The vision is way better than regular surgery that you do. So the robotic surgery will have a lot of application in future, but overall, in all kinds of surgical treatment, robotic surgery will have a very significant role in future. Robotic or minimally invasive or keyhole surgery will have a very, very important role.
So are they going to replace the doctors completely someday?
Nothing is going to replace human being, at least in our life, your lifetime, at least next 100 years.
Sir, you have worked, you studied in SCB Medical College, you have worked at the Apex Institute of the country in New Delhi, and you also learned a lot of things from Cleveland Clinic. You have been through the system and then you've come here, practice in the private sector. What do you think differentiates all these institutes? And
Human beings, nothing else. Everybody has the same thing. Everybody has the same. Today's time, everybody has the same equipment. What you have got in a category C hospital is the same equipment in All India Institute or Cleveland Clinic or SNR. What difference is the human beings working there? What difference is the teamwork? What difference is the system processes? This is what I learned in Cleveland Clinic. That's what whenever people used to come, the only difference, only people I saw who used to look at that are Japanese. They used to, those days that was the ultimate place to come to learn cardiac surgery. Every day we'll have 10-15 visitors. Japanese is the only one who will go around, look at the system. I used to tell them, look at the system process, just don't see the surgeons alone. You will not learn anything. What differentiates the institution is the human beings, not the equipment. Human beings, system processes, culture of the place, that thing determines something successful, something not successful.
Sir, after undergoing cardiac surgeries, what lifestyle changes and follow-up routine would you recommend to the recurrence of the disease?
Whether cardiac surgery or cardiac treatment, the same. The underlying disease process is atherosclerosis. Now, atherosclerosis happens because of multiple factors. One is your lifestyle, lack of exercise, one is your food habits, stress, all these things lead to diabetes, hypertension, and then use of tobacco in any form, whether it is smoking, tobacco, or e-cigarette, whatever, including passive smoking. All these things cause damage to the arterial wall. The damage leads to healing. Healing process starts with deposition of the cholesterol, deposition of calcium, and slowly over time that leads to and there is a shear stress, because when you do this thing you develop diabetes, hypertension, all these things forms like a milieu perfect for atherosclerosis. So doing a surgery, doing an angioplasty, you are not going to treating the root cause. The root cause has to be treated after any form of treatment for cardiac, whether it is angioplasty or cardiac surgery. Again, all of them have to strictly lead a active lifestyle, which include moderate level of exercise, yoga to reduce the stress, very strict cardiac healthy diet, avoid all the processed food, sweets. Sweets is as bad as tobacco, as dangerous to the body as tobacco. Avoid sweets, any of those processed food which are very high in your salt, sugar, as well as it is very simple form of carbohydrate, where the absorption takes place very quickly, a sugar level goes up, then this is what you end up getting obesity, hypertension and diabetes. So need to modify all the risk factors, and those who are in tobacco, etc. have to stop. And of course need to take medicine. You do that, you lead a very, very long and healthy life. Today, somebody has a heart problem, the person can lead almost a normal lifespan, provided they take proper care.
Sir, you have a very special interest in wildlife photography. Your photos have been featured by Nikon India also. So how does it help you?
Because I was interested in photography in college days, in SC Medical College. I was the only one those days used to have a camera. So I had those Kodak, I forgot those tiny little camera with a real, pardon? Negative film, but it was those very tiny little Kodak, I forgot the name. So I was into photography for a long time, and I used to do all types of photography. Started street photography, went into this one landscape, nature, then went into macro. Finally, I was doing wildlife for last 10 years, but I got more involved because my daughter is very, she's a wildlife, passionate wildlife conservationist, and we both started going together, and last 5-7 years I'm actively involved in wildlife conservation, because India is the only country in the world other than Africa. Africa is not a country, it's a country, it's a continent. So even compared to Africa, we have got more biodiversity than Africa, and we have destroyed it. I've seen in my lifetime, I have destroyed it. Our country, we have destroyed 80-90%. So, and if you don't take care of it, nothing will left for our future generations. And so that is how I got involved for last 5 years. I'm quite a bit in photography, so next year I'm going to have 5 major exhibitions, India, Dubai and London. All those photos I'm planning to, all the money raised will be donating to various places.
Sir, any other profession you would have chosen if not a doctor?
Nothing. I would have become a doctor, I would have become a heart surgeon. Nothing else in life I would have done.
You always wanted to be this.